Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome to a new series, or at least potentially new series for Dreadnoughts. This is going to be legendary encounters. Encounters which, in essence, never happened or potentially never have happened. Or maybe they have, depending on what we do for future videos. This one is going to be the Iowa facing off against the Yamato. Now, I have to work within the confines of the game. That means that you're not going to get the exact armament or the exact type of display that you might normally like from these ships. You might not get the exact armor scheme, you might not get the exact build, but I have to work with what the game is giving me. So this is my interpretation of Yamato. For starters, one of the things that I had to change was the amount of secondary guns. Because from what I was able to find, she did not have 2-inch guns. She had something slightly smaller, but yeah, you just don't have secondary 1-inch guns. Aside from that, I had to take some liberties with stuff such as torpedo protection and range. All of that stuff is not really going to be that important when we're doing a 1v1. The ships will have regular trained crew, standard crew quarters, and as for the rest, I kind of got the resources from various websites as well as, yes, Wikipedia, which some of you might hate. Again, you might not like the exact way that I have built the ship. If you can do it better, by all means, go ahead. Make a video out of it, and I will gladly watch it to see what I can improve. Quick overview of Yamato you have seen. I'd like to draw your attention especially to the 26-inch side turret armor. Well, not strictly side, it is just turret armor, period. 26, and that is plus the armor quality. I took the numbers from the various resources that I could find and said, you know what, okay, we're going to just input the numbers as I have seen them, and I'm going to completely ignore armor quality. This instantly gave me an impression that at long range, the Iowa is going to have a problem. Because she might have faster firing guns at 38 seconds reload versus Yamato's 51 seconds. But look at the deck armor on Yamato. It's 8.9 inch, 6.9 aft, 6.9 fore. I had to reduce these a little bit to make some of this turret armor fit. Yamato has all that deck armor. This ship does not. Because Iowa apparently only had a deck armor of 1.5 inch. Now, with the armor quality, you can crank out a bit more than that, but this is going to be pushing it. Now, again, this is a first video of this series. That is, if you would like it to become a series. If so, give this video a like so that I know to continue it. Oh, I can still push this turret in a little bit more for the balancing. There. I will not have manual control of these ships. I will not have manual control of these ships. I'll let that to the AI. So the AI is going to be able to command them and, well, do that as they see fit. And this first video is made under the 1.04 version of the game. All right, let's begin. Starting range for these ships will be 20,000 meters or 20 kilometers. The Iowa has most likely already acquired Yamato, and Yamato has most likely acquired the Iowa as well. It is going to take a bit of time for these turrets to turn around, though. Now, I do still really like the look of these ships in the game. I'm very excited, by the way, about the new patch, which is supposed to be coming later this week. At least that's what I read on the forums. The 1.05 patch is going to add additional content to the campaigns. It's going to make the AI much more customizable. And it should also be capable of giving you a whole lot more content. Because we get more nations in the campaigns. We get more options for the AI to maneuver and or not collide with itself. And we have all sorts of additional features that I will go over in a separate video. Now we have a first salvo from Yamato just now, and there was the return salvo from the Iowa. Iowa's at 6.3%. And I don't think at this range she's going to be capable of getting a whole lot of damage in. Although, considering the angle, deck pen, we're looking at 20,000 meter range. We can pen about 12 inches of armor, give or take. So that could... Ooh, did you catch that shell? Right there. And yes, I know, it should have deformed. No need to go actually jingles here. Yes, the shell should have been completely deformed as it bounced off. Iowa is completely broadside and firing back with all 18-inch guns, all 9 of them. Iowa, in the meanwhile, has already reloaded and is acquiring, or is angling for another salvo. And as these shells pass each other in midair, it looks like Iowa might... Ooh, close shave there. Might take a hit. So far nothing, but that could have been the end of her. I think that this battle is very much going to be decided by whoever gets the first couple of hits in. Because we're firing 16-inch shells at Yamato. Yamato is throwing back with 18-inch shells. Whoever gets the first hit in is going to probably deliver an enormous amount of damage. As you're watching the battle, leave a comment down below letting me know what sort of battle between what ships you would like to see next. It could be, for example, Bismarck versus Yamato, it could be Iowa versus Hood. I don't care, we can have all sorts of weird combinations. Again, the ships won't be exactly as you might remember them from the history books, simply because that is very difficult to do in this game. You have to sort of balance out gameplay as well as the ability to make historical ships. Now Iowa here seems to be at an advantage as Yamato is angled too much and cannot bring her bow guns to bear. Iowa can, but Yamato is sailing away. She's only firing back with 3 barrels, while Iowa is mostly chasing and I think capable of firing all. We only have a 4.6% chance to hit. The accuracy is still quite low. 35% identification. I wish I could speed this up for editing purposes, so to see what sort of accuracy Yamato can expect. But as of right now, nothing so much. Now, the Yamato has a maximum speed of 27 knots, Iowa at 33. She is definitely faster, and with that maneuverability, she might be able to park herself or bring herself into a better position, which would be behind Yamato, so that Yamato is only firing back. Why Yamato is running? I don't exactly know, but we did just get 1 hit from Iowa on Yamato, although it was barely a scratch. Iowa still has 810 shells left. Again, that might not be historical. I had to take some liberties with that as well. Same for heavy shells, super heavy shells. I just gave them standard shells for now. And all of that, by the way, will also change in a future version. Because we're going to be getting different types of shell noses. Different type of shell noses like that. And you're also going to be able to set something that I currently cannot set, which is the type of ammo for both main and secondaries as separate buttons. Because right now it is one takes all. So if I'm firing now, it's just going to be either high explosive for all the guns on the ship or armor piercing. That is going to change, because we're going to have 1 button for the main guns and 1 button for the secondaries, which is very nice. Because what I've been known to do is have main guns fire high explosive, for example, at a light cruiser. And secondary guns would be nice to fire armor piercing, because they could do more damage that way. But that, up until now, or at least up until the 1.05 patch hits, is not possible. Now, I'm still surprised that Iowa has landed 8 hits at this point, and Yamato has done nothing. Yes, she's firing fewer shells. She's just running away, non-stop. About 5% chance to hit. A little higher for Iowa. Oh, but Iowa just took a hit. Right through that vulnerable part of the ship, which is the main deck. And she immediately lost 7% of her structural integrity. And she's on fire. It looks like the AI for Iowa has decided that high explosive is currently the better option against Yamato, because she might not be able to be penned with armor piercing. Yep, there was another ding right off the armor of Yamato. Can we pen this? Not really. Not at that range. We can do damage with the Iowa against the superstructure of Yamato, but most of the belt is impenetrable. If we take Yamato and have a look at Iowa, it's probably going to be a very different picture, because Iowa does not have nearly that much armor and is far, far easier to pen. There's another decent hit from Iowa, this time 75 damage, leading to some structural integrity damage on Yamato and another fire. Now, I gave both of these ships maximum bulkheads. They were the absolute pinnacle of engineering, and most likely would be extremely heavily protected with all those bulkheads. Hopefully that's going to not make flooding that much of an issue, but this battle so far seems to be mostly HE from Iowa, not necessarily leading to flooding, and AP from Yamato, which could lead to flooding if only she were to fire more guns, because this is not very helpful. Oh, but she hit! She hit Iowa for another 10%. And we have a serious fire raging under both of the A and B turrets. This is potentially bad news for Iowa. Let's hope she can put that fire out fast before her magazine cooks off. If it does. Iowa has the fire under control, but those sections are heavily damaged. So far, I'm going to say that it looks like victory could be going to Yamato, because she's only down 6%. Incoming shells from Iowa. Bounced off again. That's how much armor she has. And she's still staying at 21 knots. Oh, sorry, 21 kilometers. That's interesting, despite the Iowa's better speed. Yamato's not doing full speed, but Iowa is. Or at least would be if she could. She's doing 31.8. It seems that the AI, at least in the current version, has not yet learned the magic of going to full speed as opposed to flank speed, and thereby getting a bonus to accuracy. Now, I was hoping that this would be a bit more of an interesting fight, potentially with all of the 5-inch secondaries and 2-inch secondaries on Iowa and Yamato slugging it out. But it looks like that is currently not happening. Looks to be very much a long-range gunnery duel. Now, not that the 2-inch guns would be actually useful, but it would be a very nice picture to look at. And of course, I can force these ships closer artificially by setting the engagement range to just a few thousand meters. But let's see how the long-range gunnery duel would play out. Or at least could play out had these ships ever met. 7% chance to pen. Beyond high explosive, Iowa really does not have any way to deal damage. Yamato does, as Iowa takes another hit and drops to 73% and loses an engine. Which I suppose should be fixable. It's not underwater. It doesn't seem destroyed. It's damaged. Both of these ships are running gear turbines too, just to make sure that they have room for all of the other components. As I was designing Iowa and seeing that 1.5-inch deck armor, I thought, wow, the game automatically sets about 4.5 inches of deck armor for a super battleship. This thing had about a third. It doesn't look anything like it. 7% chance to hit still. Iowa, however, is already through another 300 shells. Yamato still has plenty of ammo left. But still, you're the bigger ship, you got the bigger guns, and you're heading away. What's your plan? If she were to head away at a slightly better angle, something like that, she might be slightly more susceptible to pens, but she could also bring the A and B turret to fire. She got another hit in Iowa, leading to only 1% of structural integrity damage. Nothing that bad. Missed. Come on, guys. Make it entertaining. Before I have to drag you kicking and screaming. Ooh, she got a good hit. A secondary gun on Iowa has been destroyed. That is probably one of these 2-inchers on the bows, starboard bow. They're not terribly important. You can also see that Iowa got somewhat lucky, as this hit right on her A turret could have been catastrophic. Her turret's top armor is not that good. It's really not good enough to sustain a hit like that and walk away from it. 89% on Yamato, 70% on Iowa. I think Iowa would lose this fight. Of course, these two guys would never slug it out like this. They would have all sorts of escorts, but for the purposes of this video series, I don't think that that would be too entertaining. Because then it would just be a big brawl between two fleets. And yes, I know the importance of aircraft carriers, but I still hope, really hope, that they're not going to be added into the game. They have proven to be extremely difficult to balance, and I wouldn't mind them as a strategic asset, so that, for example, you could bomb a ship from the strategic map, but not have them in the actual battle. I think that would not be good for the game. While later, the battle is still raging. Yamato is doing pretty okay. 75% structural integrity, good amount of ammunition, still angled away from Iowa, still fighting back with her stern turret. Now, her hull has been definitely mangled by the impact that Iowa has managed to get, but it's not been that serious. Iowa, in the meanwhile, is not doing as well. She has taken a hit, and that engine has proven to be very difficult, if not impossible, to repair, reducing her speed to a mere 22.7 knots, at which speed she's falling behind Yamato more and more and more. Let's see, Yamato is currently 23.6 kilometers away. She's slowly but steadily slipping away. And even though the pen chance from Iowa relative to Yamato has gone up, the ammunition count on Iowa has gone down quite a bit. 246 shells left. At this rate, I think there is not going to be a clear winner. I think Iowa will expend her entire magazine, and that Yamato is just going to sail away with most of her hit points intact. If Yamato really wanted to, she could wait until Iowa has expended her ammunition, turn around, and hunt her down with those 18-inch guns of her. Because she's now currently faster, so you can do 24.3 knots versus Iowa's 22.7. And on top of that, she has more firepower, because her chance to pen Iowa is still very, very good. Maybe not so much the belt, maybe not that part of the ship, but the closer she gets, the more flat that angle becomes, and the more that 12.1-inch main belt armor will be tested. So Iowa really has to rely on her long-range gunnery to keep the Yamato at bay, but I don't think that, well, keeping her at bay is in Iowa's best interest. There you go, damage to the main tower. That is potentially going to cause issues for her accuracy should that happen again. It will also cause damage to her damage control parties, at least slowly but steadily, and reduce the amount of damage control that she can do. Yamato has turned to port just enough to bring all 9 18-inch barrels to bear. Actually, is she staying on that course? Yeah, more or less. With that firepower, she could pretty comfortably finish off Iowa. She takes the occasional hit every now and then, but that was a big hit on Iowa. 64% structural integrity remains. Iowa, 160 shells left. This is going to spell problems for Yamato. Oh, sorry, for Iowa. 156. The game doesn't update that every turn. It updates that every once in a while. There we go, 150. And Iowa's just comfortably... Oh, sorry, Yamato. I keep keeping these confused. Yamato is just casually shooting it out. Splashing all around Yamato, but no hits. Sometime later, Iowa's situation has gone from dire to desperate. She only has 30 shells left. 36 shells. That's enough for just a few salvos more. And Iowa is under the full attention now of Yamato. As Yamato's turning around, she just completed a turn to go broadside. And she is starting to take more and more damage. If this draws on for long enough, Iowa is toast, as Yamato will win this fight. Yamato has managed to put Iowa on fire. A large portion of her superstructure has been badly damaged, but not destroyed. So she still has 5% chance to hit, but Yamato has upgraded her firing solution to 8.5%. And is definitely starting to deal more damage. And there she goes, the first flooding hit on Iowa. One of the lower compartments was fully penned, as the foredeck and main deck were penned at the same time. Sorry, with 2 different salvos. And, well, she has those maximum bulkheads. She has good anti-flooding systems. She will survive that one flooding hit. But she's down to 12 shells. That's enough for 1.5 salvos, and then she's completely dry from main guns. And when she returns fire and damages Yamato, it's just not enough. It's 47 damage. But Yamato does 300 damage per hit. There's another 89, as it was a partial pen on the forebelt. And that's the last of Iowa. She's dry. She has no more shells. So if you, in this situation, put the Iowa against Yamato at long range, Yamato will win. She's more of a sniper, she has better towers, she has, well, in this case potentially a better strategy of just moving away. Now she could close in and kill Iowa. But what if, by some miracle, these ships happen to encounter each other at short range? What would happen then? Let's have a look. We're going to do the same battle, the same battleships, but this time at a 10,000 starting meter, or 10,000 meter starting range, as opposed to the 20,000 that they had. This could very heavily favor the improved rate of fire and, due to the closer distance, the improved pen of Iowa. Yamato might find herself at a disadvantage, but this ship, Yamato, is also capable of dealing a lot of damage at short range, or shorter range, with her 18 inchers. And on top of that, well, it's going to hit a lot harder, because it has more chance to pen the Iowa. Yamato is firing back with a couple of her secondaries. She has a couple of... Come on, let me highlight the ship. She has a couple of 6 inchers and 5 inchers. Iowa has 10 5 inchers per side, and they're all paying full attention to Yamato and returning fire. The main guns of Iowa have a solution of 40%. 42% even. It remains to be seen just when Yamato is going to take her first pens. There she goes. Partial pelt on the main pen. Partial pen on the main belt. And that's the first bit of damage that she's received, but she gets hit in return. Iowa takes the hit that fully pens the main belt, leading to more structural integrity loss on Iowa than on Yamato. And this is what I mean with the improved rate of fire on Iowa, because she reloads in 38 seconds. Not necessarily to her advantage. Because, well, those 18 inchers. Let's see, do we have an idea yet? No, not yet. Ooh, not yet. That was lucky for Iowa. All 9 shells from Yamato missed. Yamato's now starting to take some damage and flooding. Although, much like Iowa, she's not that concerned with flooding, probably. That was almost a full salvo, just ricocheted off the belt. Can Iowa say the same? No, Iowa cannot say the same. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits on Iowa. And it is ripping the ship apart. Her structural integrity is down to 60%. Her buoyancy is dropping as 5 compartments are starting to flood. Her accuracy, due to all of the damage, and thereby damage instability, is dropping. Iowa is now suffering a minus 49% accuracy because of damage instability. And what was once 40 to 42% accuracy is now far less. And it's about to get worse for Iowa. She lost all of her engines. And that could also spell the end of her damage control ability. She's still fighting as hard as she can. But she's still struggling to pen Yamato. 116 damage. She's controlled the flooding. One compartment still flooded-ish. It should be fixable. Another hit on Iowa. She's down to 47%. Yamato's sitting at a very comfortable 80-something, I think. If not 90s. More flooding on Iowa. I think even if she were angled, it wouldn't save her. And I had to try and squeeze as much armor onto this frame of 58,400 tons as I could. Yamato with her 71,000 tons. And, well, bigger guns, but I think they took up relatively less space. It's just easier to armor. And more survivable. Yamato, 89%. Barely flooded. And the same thing cannot be said by Iowa. She's starting to flood again. 84% structural. Her chance to pen Yamato is still only 16%, as she cannot pen the main belt. Yamato's main belt of 16 inches is just proving too much for the 16-inch guns of the Iowa. Another full salvo. Also take note of the accuracy, because this is Yamato's accuracy at 22% versus the 18% that Iowa is still managing to make. A bit of decent damage on Yamato there at 84% structural. And that just did nothing. One hit, 1 point of damage. Took out a secondary gun on Yamato, but she still has plenty. And I think that what was taken out was one of her many 2-inchers. Yeah, it's probably this one, if not that one. And those 2-inchers were mostly on both ships as anti-aircraft armament. They're not that likely to actually cause any damage in a fight like this. If they were fighting destroyers, sure. That would be a completely different issue, but aside from that, not that likely. Iowa manages to flood Yamato, but Yamato's damage control party immediately fixes it. Interesting, by the way, how the game has decided that even with regular levels of crew, this is not a cramped ship. Standard quarters, same for Iowa. Iowa has more crew, 2,295 versus 2,128 on Yamato. More flooding on Yamato's stern. The rudder has been damaged. But I think it's not going to save Iowa, because she has now also lost her damage control and, her conning tower and her rudder. And that means that the next 2 salvos from Yamato could finish her off. Flooding. Structural integrity on 2%. Yamato fires again. 0.1. And eliminates Iowa. That was a battle that lasted less than 20 minutes. That was very quick. Good night for the Iowa. The ship did manage to do some damage. She dealt 795 damage, but she took 6,700. So both at long range and short range, it seems that the Iowa, at least the way I built it, is not up to fighting Yamato. Now again, I hope you guys enjoyed this sort of video. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Also, let me know what battle you would like me to do next. If you have a link source for a particular ship, then I would be very grateful for that. So if you say, you know what, I want to have this light cruiser face off against that heavy cruiser, that's fine. Just give me links, give me resources so I can easily build your ships. Because as of right now, sending ships to another person is still not very easy to do. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys soon for more videos.